spending time in the field and seeing so many faces of like endangered species or threatened ecosystems and feeling like you met them.
Yeah.
You've seen them and you know what they need and that they can't speak for themselves.
Yeah.
I think I just feel compelled to be that voice where decisions are being made.
Welcome to the Future for Nature podcast. Every year, 3 exceptional young conservationists, all under the age of 35, coming from some of the most wild and remote places on Earth, are selected out of hundreds of applicants to receive the Future for Nature award, which comes with a €50,000 prize to go towards protecting and conserving the natural world. Over time, as they've grown in number into a Future for Nature family, these young conservationists have drawn on the many lessons learned from their vastly different backgrounds, countries, cultures, and the species they protect, to offer support and learn from one another. In this podcast, you'll hear them discuss some of the issues closest to their hearts and share in-depth knowledge from the field. Today we'll be hearing from Callie and Trang about how law can most effectively be used in nature conservation.
Hi, my name is Trang and I'm from Vietnam. So most of my work has been on undercover work between Asia and Africa. But recently we've been focusing a lot of our effort into anti-poaching in Vietnam and supporting the enforcement.
Wow, so cool. So nice to meet you. My name's Callie Veelenturf. I'm a marine biologist and I largely study sea turtles in Panama, Colombia, and Ecuador. And we're focusing on combating fisheries, bycatch, the illegal wildlife trade as well, and advancing the rights of nature.
That's amazing. And when I was younger, I really wanted to do marine biology.
Really?
But my mom didn't let me.
Why not?
She went to a fortune teller and apparently they say I'm going to drown by the time I was 16. So she was like, you're not allowed to come anywhere near water.
Wow.
So I didn't learn to swim until I was like 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now you do swim and spend time.
Now I do swim and I got my diving license. So I go diving sometimes as well and I love it.
We should go diving together.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to learn more about your work. I think we have some questions here. So let's see. First question. Many conservationists are, in a way, also activists, fighting against societal pressures. You both incorporate policy and law in your work. What role can law play in the protection of nature? And is this different for Panama and Vietnam?
Well, I can go first. I think it's extremely important to have law and policy in place, even if that said law or policy is not implemented or not enforced at a certain time. But it's important to have it on the paper so people can use it as a guideline. And especially, I think you mentioned it yesterday in one of the sessions that if it's taken to court, at least the court has some background or something they can base on to guide them to make the right decisions.
Correct.
So yeah, I think, of course, law going to be different in different countries. And they would be in some countries are more advanced in law to protect nature and wildlife and so on. And there are some countries are a little bit behind. But it doesn't mean that it's not important. And it's important that people are aware of this law in place and that they can push to have better and more advanced law in place for them to continue their work. And what do you think?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think sometimes I think about in terms of rights in nature, like the civil rights movement in the US or the rights for women to have the ability to vote and how, for example, with civil rights, they've been in place for decades now, but it doesn't mean that we're fully in line with them. You know, we still have more implementation to do, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't important to make a declaration about civil rights. And so I think that that's where we're at, really, that we need to make those declarations for nature. And then, of course, like the implementation efforts will take a long time and we'll have to go step by step. Right. But I agree that when there are those laws in place that can be referenced, it's like the teeth. And an environmental problem and allows nature to be protected in unique ways. And I feel like as like biologists and scientists as well, we have that role to play of like acknowledging what types of articles and phrases need to be in those laws to fully protect a species. And I know like I'm not a lawyer, but I find environmental law fascinating. And I think we have that opportunity to innovate along the way.
Yeah, sure. I think like for us as well, I remember when I was in university, I really don't like learning law and policy because it's quite lengthy and it's written in language that can be quite difficult to understand. But it's super important. Like later on when we was developing a project on awareness raising, and we I just feel like it's a fundamental for conservation, right? We cannot go conserving anything if there's no law to protect that place. Like you can't even have a national park if there's no law saying you have to have a national park and protect this amount of area. So yeah, it's super important.
And how do you feel like the law has protected the species that you study in Vietnam?
Well, at least we have quite, for example, one of the projects we're doing at the moment, we're focusing on migratory birds.
Okay.
And we were super excited because quite recently after COVID, actually in 2020, that for the first time, the Vietnamese government is suing and calling for people to working across different departments to protecting wild birds.
Wow.
And before that, wild bird is just considered as some kind of, this animal. They are birds are birds, they're everywhere. You can kill them, you can eat them, you can do whatever. But now it's like, yes, there's a decree in place.
Wow.
So we can come to the ranger or the police even and say, the government issued a new decree. It's called for all of us to protecting wild birds. There is law in place already. So now we need to go and we need to enforcing the law.
Wow.
And it helped. Lots of people, I think because it's quite new law, so the public don't really know about it yet. But that's why awareness raising, educations, and all other kind of work come in hand to be so useful.
Right.
To help. Yeah.
Wow, that is really cool. It's exciting that this new decree was put in place.
Yeah.
And I agree about enforcement and like awareness building. Because I feel like in Panama with the rights of nature, a lot of people still don't know how to use it or how they can become engaged in its implementation. So I feel like that's kind of our role as well is sharing that information with the public and kind of giving them a toolkit or a guidebook for how to implement the law or how to put pressure on government agencies to do so. Yeah. So there's a lot of work still to be done.
There's a lot of work to be done. I really want to learn more, but let's go to the next question. Okay, what is this? What resistance did you encounter when fighting for nature in a judicial way? Did this resistance come from an expected or unexpected audience? And how did you deal with it?
Wow, it's an interesting question. I guess with the rights of nature law in Panama, it was actually maybe a unique situation in that sense. And that I brought it to the table with the First Lady of Panama and a Congressman, Juan Diego Vasquez, and they were excited. Them and their teams were initially excited, and there wasn't a lot of resistance. It was something they immediately latched onto. And we worked for months on this draft that was then presented to Parliament like 9 months later. And after that, we had these debating periods.
Right.
And at the first public debate, not a single opponent came. Like the people that were criticizing the law were asking for it to be stronger in certain ways. And there were indigenous groups, there were scientists, advocates, but I don't think we had any like mine representatives come, for example, or things like that. They just weren't interested. I don't know if they brushed the law off as not being a threat or why they weren't there. It was a public invitation. But yeah, we didn't have that pushback per se. And I remember that the law, I was told by the Minister of the Environment in the past administration that the law was sitting on the president's desk for months and he wasn't sure he was going to sign it. And then I guess the minister called him and was like, you need to sign this. And he ended up signing it. But I think that like maybe not opposition, but some of the criticisms that come about are in regards to implementation. But I think we've already addressed how we need to get these declarations in place anyway. There's also some criticisms about how it's too abstract of a concept. Like how can you bestow rights to like a non-human entity? But I think when we put that in the context of corporations and how corporations have personhood rights in many countries around the world, then, we can get creative about rights and who is bestowed rights when we want to be. And so if we just think about how to best protect nature and using rights, I think that argument can be also discounted. So I largely, to be honest, haven't faced much opposition yet in this particular concept when I actually go to implement it. But I don't know about you.
Do you think it's a simple question? Like, do you think it's a unique situation in Panama, or do you think that most places in the world gonna be open to this concept of the right of nature?
It's a good question. I'm sure Panama is unique in the sense that, like, it wasn't a hard sell to the policymakers.
Right.
But And I also think that because rights of nature are so grounded in like ethics and moral, that, you know, maybe it will be an easy sell for the general public. And of course, there's going to be corrupt groups and sectors everywhere that would oppose it. And I'm sure now, like the mining company is not happy about the rights of nature law in Panama, like the specific mining company that we were using the rights of nature to shut down their copper mine.
Right.
But it's not like we had the law passed before they were able to say anything about it, I guess, or they didn't show it to the right. So, yeah. But how have you... Yeah.
I think for us in Vietnam, I find that our law on paper is extremely good, but the implementation is when it comes to have a lot of issue. And one of the things is that kind of like is the way they're dividing the power. Like the ranger are not allowed to arresting people. So if they saw a poacher in the forest, they can stop the poacher and they can ask the poacher to stop whatever they were doing and to go with them to the ranger station. But then that's only right that they have. They're not allowed to arrest the persons. And then they have to call the police to come over and help. But a lot of the time what we found is that the police really resistant. They don't want to have extra workload. Why do I have to come over here to deal with some guy that just want to put out as an air trap to cut a deal or something? And so that's one of the main problems that we have. And we kind of like trying to find a way for people who work at different departments, different sectors, collaborate with other better and have a better understanding of the important work the ranger is doing and why they really need your help.
Wow.
So yeah, those are more of the thing. And the thing is that in my country, they are trying to cutting down the people who work for governments. So with sector like ranger, where we already really lacking, right? I think it's the same everywhere, not just Vietnam, but like we don't have enough ranger on the ground to protect in the forest or the oceans, or but they cutting down those people, and so the workload increase. They get really poorly paid. They underrepresented. When there's a new law or decree passed, their voice wasn't being heard. So there's quite a lot of ranger quit their job over the last few years, and it's really sad. So yeah, we're trying to kind of like pushing the government a bit to give them data and to show them like, look, this is really important people. They're being shot at without getting any compensations. They don't even have insurance when they go out to work.
Wow.
So we need to do something about it. And I hope that with time, people will understand more the challenges that people working at the front lines are facing, and that the working condition will be better.
Yeah, I hope they provide them with more support.
Yeah.
Because they are on the front lines.
Yeah.
They are the face of protecting nature on the ground. Yeah. So they definitely deserve more protection.
Yeah.
Actually, before going on to the next question, I just wanted to say we have like a super similar situation in Panama where the Army Navy, to control the drug trafficking situation, has outposts all throughout the country.
Right.
And so when they see illegal wildlife trade taking place, for example, the only thing they can do is detain the person. And they have to detain the person until someone from the Ministry of the Environment or the environmental police comes. So it's the exact same situation. And we're trying to see now if there's a way that like there can be some additional abilities bestowed upon the Army Navy to take action more quickly so that the laws can be implemented. Because just as you say, there aren't enough people in the Ministry of the Environment to actually have the time to go to these remote locations to enforce the law. So it's a similar situation. And the Army Navy actually just created, after the Rights of Nature law was passed, this environmental committee that is specifically tasked with looking at these issues. And I don't know, it's still in its development stage, so we'll see how effective it is. But there is some hope there that they're at least looking at it. And I hope, in both situations, I think the countries could learn from each other for sure.
For sure.
Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, the rights of nature movement has gained momentum in the past years with focus groups on the United Nations level. Can you explain briefly what it aims to achieve? Okay, cool.
I think with this question, you should answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. The rights of nature is basically a movement to recognize the intrinsic rights and value of nature outside of its utilitarian value for human beings. So right now, a lot of our legal systems are anthropocentric, like human focused, and that's the perspective that a lot of the environmental law has been created under. And rights of nature is a more ecocentric take on the protection of nature, including humans as part of that because we're part of the ecosystems of the planet. And I think when we consider our effect on nature and all levels of decision making, we can help find that harmony with nature through this rights of nature framework. And so on a UN level, I think we're hoping to recognize the United Nations Universal Declaration of the Rights of Nature. It'll take a long time. It'll take a lot of countries, but I think it's time. And we're working on that slowly now and seeing which member states might be interested in proposing such a declaration. And then we're also working on a separate initiative for ocean rights as well, because there's a lot of countries and groups that are particularly passionate about the ocean. So we're kind of seeing which one might be easier, or if there might be more interest for more one of the different declaration ideas. But I think because this is such like an ethical and moral concept, that the UN is the perfect place for it, because it's been that entity that has tried to give a voice to the voiceless over the years.
Yeah.
But what do you think? Do you think Vietnam could ever be interested in something like the rights of nature?
Well, I know for sure I'm interested. And I really wanted to do something. Vietnam as a whole country, I think this is something very new to them. And I think it would take time for people to actually, for the government who are actually accepting it. But I know, like, for example, over the last few years, we also have talk and workshop for the publics about the right of nature. And I know that young people are really interested. I remember we invited guest speakers to come over and give talk at university.
Oh, cool.
And there's a lot of students turn up, and I was so surprised because I thought, like, the right of nature, it sound like really new. And the picture or the thing that was kind of like used to promoting the event was not like some of the normal picture that normally people see. Like, for example, you see ranger foraging in the forest, and they see them patrolling the forest. They see snake being taken out, that kind of thing. It looked a little bit more kind of provoking imagination, and it make people feel like, oh wow, I want to do that. It's kind of more active. But when you talk about the right of nature, a little bit more kind of like you're doing a lot of work with policy. You're doing a lot of work with law. So for some young people, they might find it a little bit too much desk work. It's not, rather than like actually going out and do things on the ground. But I was very surprised. They was really supportive. They turned up. They put out a lot of good questions, and even our guest speaker was really surprised. Yeah. So I think it's something that definitely the young generations are interested in, and they have the power to change the country, right? So I'm really hopeful for them as well.
That makes me hopeful too.
Yeah. Let's go to the next question. What do we have? Okay, this is actually for you. So it's so good I pick it up. It's like, Callie, you successfully created the law of nature that was supported by the government of Panama. If other conservationists would like to achieve this in their country, what would be a place to start? I want to ask this question too.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. So I think it's really important in thinking about the rights of nature to take like various different perspectives, right? Like I think a bottom-up approach, like working with communities and Indigenous peoples and students and youth is so important. And I also think having preliminary discussions from a top-down perspective as well is important. Like speaking with people that work in the government agencies, even if it's not at the top, just in an informal way about the concept and what they think might be certain stumbling blocks or obstacles along the way and what might be the best way to go forward, because every country is so different. So there's not like a one-size-fits-all solution. And I think that it's really important to respect that, to respect like the differences in cultures and government functions and systems. And like each country has different holes in their current environmental law. So in that sense, there's different motivations for a rights of nature framework in each country because there's different deficiencies in how the system works. And so I think the first thing to do would maybe be like analyze that, like look at current environmental law, what's working, what's not working, and how this particular species or ecosystems that a scientist might study or a youth person might be interested in is affected by current environmental law in good and bad ways, and see like how it can be bettered and if within the rights of nature framework that could work. And just kind of like, it can be a hypothetical exercise at first.
So we would need a lot of scientific data to back up for whatever we're trying to create, right?
I think so. Yeah. And I think that's actually like a PowerPoint for scientists as well, is that like if we can show through data sets over the long term that what we've been doing isn't working, then that makes the case that we should do something different. And it's based in science and ecosystem need. And it's not just like an activist or a philosophical idea, which is really important and powerful. But I also think that government agencies right now, they often turn their cheek to those types of conversations because they feel confrontational or they put them on the defensive. So I think like taking an ecosystem-based scientific approach can allow some of these people that, if you took a different approach, might close the door to be more open-minded.
Yeah.
And I would also recommend like reading certain cornerstone books of the rights of nature movement, like the one by David Boyd that's called The Rights of Nature, A Legal Revolution That Could Save the World, or Should Trees Have Standing by Christopher Stone. Those are some important ones. And there's also websites too, like GARN, the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature. They have a map and a timeline in collaboration with the Eco Jurisprudence Monitor. It basically has mapped out all of the examples around the world. So you can also learn more about, in the particular place that you live or work in, like what is some of the history there, if there is any rights of nature examples, to see if there's a place to start or other people that are already working in this movement. And then also the United Nations Harmony with Nature program has a whole list of all of the examples as well from the beginning of time. So that's a good place to learn more about. And they have the legal documents and also public articles relating to each case. So I would say just like learning more in data gathering and maybe even stakeholder mapping as well as the next step. Like if you want to do it.
Right?
Yeah.
So
like
who is your ally?
Exactly.
Who can you,
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's really
There you
useful.
go.
Yeah. I think I definitely going ask you a lot more when we try to do it in Vietnam and get more advice from you.
Any support day or night. I'll be there.
Thank you.
So what role do Indigenous peoples or local communities play in the development of legal protection for nature? Or what role should they play?
Wow, I think you know a lot more than me about this.
I don't think so.
But I think they are the first player. Like they're the first people that we would come to talk to and to understand their view, their needs, and because I think they are the voice of nature, really, not the people who live in the city, not the people in high position, the people who live depending their life and living in harmony with the forest are the one that they're the voice of the forest, and they are the first person that we need to talk to before we make any decisions or creating any new law or anything like that.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I feel like because they're living in harmony with nature, as you said, and they're living in such connection with nature, that like they are the ones that arguably understand best like what nature needs and what they need from a healthy natural ecosystem as well. And I think the rights of nature and the rights of Indigenous and local communities are so
intertwined. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I think we go into the last questions. Yeah. So in one word or one sentence, what would you say motivate you every day to fight for the future of nature?
Oh my gosh. I got goosebumps listening to that question. Wow. That's a powerful question. I think for me, like spending time in the field and seeing so many faces of like endangered species or threatened ecosystems and feeling like you met them.
Yeah.
You've seen them and you know what they need and that they can't speak for themselves.
Yeah.
I think I just feel compelled to be that voice where decisions are being made on their behalf. It's like, I don't know, I feel connected in that sense. What about you?
Oh, I think it's going to sound really cheesy, but but I think for me it's really like love, because I just love the people in the field that I'm around with and the animals.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if you really love, you fight for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
Can I hug you?
I'm getting so emotional.
I know, you said it. Thank you for all that you do for nature.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you so much to everyone that's listening. We're so excited to share these ideas with you and hope you can join us.